So we've talked about how to find midpoint. For instance, when we were looking at the length or distance formula, we did look at a segment that might have looked like this, where on a number line, one end was at 4 and one end was at 26, and I asked, where is the midpoint? Another way to phrase that is, what point is halfway between these 2 points? And so we would find that our difference, the distance between these 2 points is 22. And if we want to go halfway, we would divide it by 2 or multiply 22 by 1/2. That would give us 11. That represents the distance away from either end. So if I'm at 4, then 11 away from 4 would put me here at 15. And so the location would be at 15. So we're going to apply that same thing, but maybe not use 1/2. We're going to use other fractions. So the fractional distance is just the partial distance from one point to the other. So here's what we're going to do to solve these problems. The first thing you want to do is you want to find the distance from end to end. Then you want to multiply the distance that you found by the fraction that you were given. And then you add the answer back to where you're coming from, or you might subtract. So we might add and we might subtract depending on where we're leaving from. Okay? Don't forget, when you're multiplying fractions, you multiply the numerators together. So say I have 3 over 2 times 1/2, then it would be 3 times 1 is 3, and 2 times 2 is 4. If I have 4 and I want to multiply that by 3/4, then I would multiply. It's understood that this 4 is over 1, so that I have 2 numerators and 2 denominators. So 4 times 3 is 12. Over 1 times 4 is 4, which is 3. You might also remember you can cross cancel, right? And so you can cross cancel those 4s and end up with 3 either way. So don't forget how to multiply fractions. So let's look at these examples. Jaren's house is located at mile marker 2. So I'm going to put Jaren's house labeled with a J right there. His best friend Marcos lives at mile marker 20. So I'm going to put Marcos down here. What is the distance between their homes? So if Jaren is at 2 and Marcus is at 20, then there is 18 between they have a distance of 18 miles between their house. 20 minus 2. So Jaren and Marcos like to meet up at the Dairy Queen that is located exactly halfway between their houses. At what mile marker? So at what location? Not how far is it, but what mile marker? So first let's find out how far it is. So if there is 18 miles between their house, then we would take that 18 and we want halfway. So I'm going to multiply by 1/2 or divide by 2. It's the same thing. So 18 times 1 and then divided by 2 would be 9. That's how far away it is. So then what we want to do is we want to go to Jaren's house or to Marcos's house. We want to add 9. So we would count 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Or if you recognize it, you can also just add 9 to 2 and end up at 11. And so they are at mile marker. The Dairy Queen is at mile marker 11. Be careful how you answer the question, because how far it is 9 miles, but where it is at 11 miles. So Jaren's Aunt Lisa lives 3/4 of the way from his house to Marcos's house. So she lives between them, and she lives 3/4 of the way from Jaren's house. At what mile marker is Lisa's house? So it's 3/4 of the distance from Jaren to Marcos. Again, Jaren to Marcos is 18 miles, and she lives 3/4 of the way. So we're going to multiply that by 3/4. So if I have 18 times 3 is 54, and then divide by 4, I get 13.5. Now, again, that is how far. That's not where, that's how far it is to her house. So then you would have to go back. It's 13.5 miles from Jaren's house, and so you would take 2 and add the 13.5, and you would find out that she lives halfway between mile marker 15 and 16. So Lisa lives right here at 15.5. Marcos's grandmother lives 2/3 of the way from his house to Jaren's house. So she originates from, everything's being referred to from Marcos's house. So again, it's still between Marcos and Jaren, so it's still 18 miles between the two of them, and she lives 2/3 of the way from his house to Jaren's house. So I would multiply this number by 2/3. 18 times 2 is 36, divided by 3 is 12. Okay, that means that she lives 12 miles from Marcos. That's important. She lives 12 miles from Marcos. So Marcos lives at mile marker 20. If she lives 12 miles away from him, then she lives at mile marker 8. So 20 minus 12 is mile marker 8. So you have to be careful. Remember, it's not that she lives at 12. She lives 12 miles from Marcos, and then we subtract that from Marcos because his number is on the right. Jaren's is on the left. So we would add when we're going from left to right. We subtract when we're going from right to left. So that's how it works when you're in one dimension. How would it work when you're in two dimensions? We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to break it into X and Y pieces. So we're kind of going to take what we just did and do it in two different directions. So there's a couple ways to do this. I'll show you both if it works out. So Geotown is a small town in Texas. Main Street stretches from Geo High School at negative 1010. So here's negative 1010. That is GHS. And Pythagoras Park is at 2, negative 6. So here is 2, negative 6, and that is Pythagoras Park. Distance is measured in miles. So Quad Mart is located 3/4 of the way from Geo High School to Pythagoras Park on Main Street. Now, what's difficult about this is if I were to draw this in, it is at a diagonal, unlike the lines that we were looking at before, which were horizontal. So the best thing to do then is to split this into two pieces. Let's split this into one big rise and run. So I'm going to do, that's my horizontal distance, and that's my vertical distance. So if I count my horizontal distance, it's from 2 to 10, or 2 to negative 10, so that's 12. And then my vertical distance is from negative 6 to 10, so that's 16. So my rise over my run is 12 over 16. So here's what we want to do, and this is a little bit different from the steps that I have here. So what we want to do instead of doing this, we want to multiply the rise and the run separately by the fraction that you were given. Okay, and then after that, you want to count. Okay, that's going to tell you how much to count horizontal and how much to count vertical. So we want to count our horizontal and vertical change. I decided to change the wording on this. Okay, and then you want to locate the new point. So here's what we want to do. Let's look at number 1. So Quad Mart is located 3/4 of the way from Geo High School to Pythagoras Park. So we start at Geo High School, and we're going to walk 75% or 3/4 of the way towards Pythagoras Park, but we're not going to get all the way. So let's take this. Let's do our horizontal. So 12 times 3/4. 12 times 3 is 36. 36 divided by 4, so I have 36 over 4, which is 9. So I'm going to count 9 horizontally. Okay, so that's 9 horizontal. Then I'm going to change this, and now I want to look at my vertical. So my vertical was 16, so I'm going to do 16 times 3/4. So 16 times 3 divided by 4, or you can cross cancel here, and you end up with 12. So I have 12 vertically. Okay, so I want to change 9 horizontally, and I want to change 12 vertically. So, and I want to start at GHS, because it says it's from GHS. So I start at GHS, and I'm going to go down 12, because that was my vertical change. So I'm going to go down 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm going to go down 12. So that's where my 12 is from there. And then from there, I'm going to go over 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is my point right there. That's where quad mart is. So quad mart is located at -1, -2. Because this is a two-dimensional drawing, then we've got to give two-dimensional addresses. Okay, so same idea. A Circle A gas station is located 2/3 of the way from Pythagoras Park to Ellipse Pool, which is at 8-3. So if I mark the pool over here at 8-3, that is my ellipse pool. So now I need to work off of this line. Okay, again, let's break up our horizontal and our vertical pieces because it's at a diagonal and I can't count it. So if we break this up, here's my vertical, here's my horizontal, basically my rise and my run. So I count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so it's 9 vertically. So now we take each distance. So let's do our horizontal distance would be 6 times 2/3. So 6 times 2 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So I'm going to be 4 away, and that's going to be horizontally. And then I need to check my vertical change. My vertical whole change was 9 times 2/3, which is 18/3. So that's 6. So I'm going to change 4 vertically, and I'm going to change 4 horizontally, and I'm going to change 6 vertically. Okay, so I want to go, it's 2/3 of the way from Pythagoras Park. So I'm going to start at Pythagoras Park, and it doesn't matter whether you count up or over first, but so that I can stay on the lines, the orange lines, I'm going to go over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4. And then I'm going to go up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is where the Circle A gas station is. It is at 6, 0. Okay, so it really is all of the same process, whether it is single dimension like these or two dimensions like this. You're still going to break it into pieces, horizontal and vertical pieces, multiply the fraction, then add it to wherever you're leaving from, or subtract it depending on whether you're going left to right or right.